The next thing that I want to look at, this is a bit more lightweight. As you know, with NEWSHOUND, we start off with something that's the main matter of fact. This is going to be a bit lighter. This was 10 years later in 1991. This is the one that I was thinking of, 27th of December. So it's still Christmas. Everyone's having fun at Christmas. And it's the news. That's what the newspaper's called. I've never heard of this one, but it came out in Chatham, Rochester, and Gillingham. Is where it was. It's established in 1859. Associated Kent newspapers. Okay, right. So Associated Kent newspapers, I would suppose, were probably bought out by Trinity Mirror at some point later on, and would have changed to some other name. It'd be interesting to find out. I always find it interesting to discover these guys. So, let's make that big. All right, let's go. No surprise from Gorby. So we're leaping into 1992. This is written in 1991. This is much more fun. Let's enjoy ourselves. Be open-minded. It was no surprise that Mikhail Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin emerged supreme from Moscow power struggle, just as it was no surprise when Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, the Prince of Wales becomes King Charles III, or when Mrs. Thatcher is re-elected Tory leader in the middle of the decade. No surprise, that is, to those who believe in the works of 16th century prophet Nostradamus. Well, some of that was wrong, wasn't it? She wasn't re-elected. According to the authors of a new book, the great man forecast a stormy run into the end of the century, with shocks around almost every corner. Yes, Nostradamus liked that. Although the prophecies of Nostradamus cover thousands of years, V.J. Hewitt and Peter Lorre says the main thrust has always been the 1990s and the conflict and upheaval the era will bring. It's convenient. They're writing in the 1990s, and all of the predictions are about the 1990s. But it is quite true that when you do, you can easily slot them into things that happen, because I think a lot happened around that time. That's really an industrial time of war as well, really just post-industrial war. The predictions are contained in strange little verses known as quatrains. There have been many attempts to interpret them over the years, but Hewitt and Lorre claim to have been using a decoding process which offers the solution to one of the most exciting riddles that history has ever offered. Sorry. Well, does it? Because I've read nearly all of the quatrains that are available, the original quatrains that were created, the original writings of Nostradamus. I'm not sure if the originals were in quatrain form or quatrainic form, I don't know what you'd say, were set up within quatrains, but he did destroy a lot of his early work and then rewrite it again into quatrains, which are like little pieces, like almost like haiku sort of like format, sort of like miniature quotes about something that give you a little peek into stuff rather than long explanations, all in riddles. So thus Gorbachev is said to be still at the Soviet helm in 1994 when he allows Eastern European countries to move towards a union with the EC. But Yeltsin might have replaced him by 1997 when the Russian spacecraft will crash on America. The prediction refers to the leader Yeltsin suggesting that if he is not head of the USSR, then Russia is running its own independent space program. Oh, wow, that's amazing. The authors find many references to war in Europe throughout the prophecies for the 1990s. Other predictions include royals. Prince Charles will become king in the 90s, is it? Nostradamus doesn't say what happens to the queen. Diana plays her part in reviving the fleeting monarchy, while Charles, the steadfast man, leads the environmental battle to save the world. Right. Now, that's hit. You can call that hit and miss. Definitively hit and miss. Prince Charles will become king. Well, they talk about Other predictions include, but they say a lot throughout the prophecies in the 1990s, but they don't say the other predictions are all throughout the 1990s. So maybe it's thing. Because Prince Charles will become king, where he was next in line to the throne, he most likely become king. Nostradamus doesn't say what happens to the queen. Well, you'd assume that she's dead. Diana plays her part in reviving the fleeting monarchy, while Charles, a steadfast man, leads the environmental battle to save the world. And that's what he's put himself. So now, here's a question, right? We all know that Diana didn't play her part in reviving the fleeting monarchy, unless her part was to be crashed into a brick pillar and die, so that people can be like mourning her, and then they can reform their attachment to the monarchy in a different way through another psychological made up psychological ritual that is enacted on us by intelligence agencies. Maybe that's the revival. That's what it means about the fleeting monarchy, reviving the fleeting monarchy. But I don't doubt it. But this is interesting. While Charles, the steadfast man, leads the environmental battle to save the world. Now, is Charles started? Did he start leading the environmental battle? Did they say that because he's already an environmentalist at this point, or did they say that and he's gone, oh, Nostradamus says that, predicts that I should do this, so maybe I should do this so it can look like it's prediction, and then that gives me some sort of like backing. Who knows? But I thought that was very interesting. Well, what else does it say in here? We don't have to stick with Charles. We can go off now. This is NewsHound, just the way it goes. So, Britain, the European process will accelerate with full monetary and economic union by May 1996. Oh, is that? They didn't get that right. All nations, including the UK, will lose their sovereignty in the formation of the Great European Alliance. That kind of did happen, and we don't really know, because in a sense, we could say the World Economic Forum could be the Great European Alliance, and we've lost our sovereignty to their Young Global Leader project. So we could say that, possibly in the last-ditch bid to prevent Britain's inclusion to this super Europe, the Tories elect Mrs. Thatcher leader once more. Did not happen. This will happen in 95-96, but it's not clear whether she will be prime minister again. The Conservatives might no longer be in power. Yeah, well, it's too late for that. All of that's dead. Europe. Paris becomes a lawless city by night, her streets terrorized by gangs of drunken youth. There could be nighttime curfew. That kind of happened in some parts during the 90s. It was pretty rough. If you saw any representations of Parisian cultures in the banlieues and the suburbs during that period, you might remember La Haine, which is a French movie with Vincent Cassel, one of Vincent Cassel's first big movies, I think. Independent, really, really good movie. Watch it. Spelled La and Haine, Haine. Well worth a watch. But that was the representation of it: lawless, nighttime curfews, terrorized by gangs. You know, that was the what Paris liked to dress itself up, but it was already like that by then, due to the segregation that you see in French society. Anyway, I lived in France. I saw it. I lived on a white road and had the people from other countries, from all around other countries, French people who are from other descendancies, descended from other countries, all on either side of this road. I've seen it. USA, America is devastated by natural disasters. That's always happens, but not devastated. The West Coast is rocked by the biggest earthquake in U.S. history in May 1993. San Diego disappears beneath the sea. Giant waves hit Mexico. Los Angeles is undermined. Hollywood studios collapse, and there's mass evacuation of California. That's all in 1993. Amazing. I don't know how they made things like Shawshank Redemption afterwards, or Pulp Fiction, but they did it. Oh no, I suppose Pulp Fiction was Pulp Fiction 1994. I reckon it's 1994. In the following 3 years, the country is crackling with severe hot weather, drought, and forest fires. People die, food is scarce. Oh my God, it's this wasteland. And this is what they want to put in your head. These sort of articles are there. You're definitely going to get people reading it. It's just after Christmas, 27th of December. Everybody's sitting around. They got nothing better to do. They've all played with their presents for long enough. They're reading their stuff, and they're getting told that there's going to be severe hot weather, drought, forest fires, people die, food is scarce. King Charles Charles comes and saves the day. George Bush is re-elected president. Well, you could have. I mean, if they had to put in the re, they would have got a real key one there. But no, George, that didn't happen. George Bush is re-elected as president before all this happens, but without Dan Quayle as his running mate. A disaster averted? Question mark. Middle East, the end of the modern nation of Israel, defeated by our Arab neighbors in a catastrophic 3-year war, 1995 to 1998. Holy hell. A resurgent Saddam Hussein joins forces with Syria and Egypt when Israel attacks Palestinian nations. Israel is overrun by Arab armies. Again, like fear, fear, fear. And at all the same time, they were aiming to do the opposite, and they were doing the opposite, where they were enacting the opposite. So this is how disgusting it is. This is the fantasy that people live in. Turkey and Greece go to war over Cyprus beginning in 1994. Everything's happening in the 90s. It didn't happen in the 90s, eh? Africa, Nelson Mandela, a dying man, becomes South African president in July 1994. The AIDS epidemic swarms across the Mediterranean into Europe. Oh my God, no. Near the end of the century, don't tell me everybody's going to be dead. Oh God, don't do that. Ah, no. Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Near the end of the century, millions of starving refugees die in Sudan. Oh, well, actually, it was just after the century, I think the refugees died in Sudan. Close. Medicine, new methods of fighting cancer with sound waves prove increasingly successful, with patients cured by 1998. The aging process is reversed. Holy hell, everything happens. This is like amazing, amazing. This is written in 1991, and like everything's going to happen in the next. This is what people, this is the mindset people get into. In reality, I know this sounds like tongue-in-cheek, but people read this and they believe, they like go away saying, oh no, because I've heard that in 1994 this is going to happen, in 1995. They don't necessarily remember what they were reading at the time when they hear that information, but information sticks in your head. It does to me. Sometimes I say things and I realize I got something because of the way something was worded, and it's not true at all. I have to double check and triple check everything I say all of the time. Science, a giant hole is discovered in the ozone layer over Antarctica. A second is found over the Indian Ocean. Wait a minute. Who's that in the distance? It's King Charles III with a cape on. He's coming. Oh, no, that's a tampon. Anyway, a second is found over the Indian Ocean. Humans visit Mars in the year 2000. Wow, Elon Musk must be gutted. He's barely out of PayPal, isn't he? But 2 years earlier, aliens are captured on film on Earth for the first time. Scientists explain the secret of black holes in space. Shit, man. The 90s was heavy, wasn't it? Religion. The end of the decade sees the rise of major new world religion. The first since Islam 1,500 years ago. Now, this is true. This could still happen, that's for sure. Maybe not in the 90s. Women priests will be admitted in the Church of England by 1995, and the Catholic priesthood is corrupted by AIDS. What is that? The Catholic priesthood is corrupted by AIDS? What, you mean they get AIDS, or they? I just don't understand what that means. The authors say the overall message is for a happier, a more peaceful 21st century. In the short term, there is greater threat to the world from man-made corruption and natural disasters than from any war between nations. Ultimately, the predicted disasters could bring mankind together enough to make them make him forget his perpetual differences, they say. We've heard these psyops before. If we believe the prophet, we can look forward to a delightful future. So here we go. Prophecies at a glance. 1992, George Bush was re-elected US president. So Clinton didn't get it. Actually, wait a minute. 1992, George Bush crime family managed, or the Bush crime family managed to elect in one of their lieutenants, Bill Clinton, as US president. I can't remember if there was any earthquakes in 1993, but the west coast of America didn't fall into the sea. So 1994, Nelson Mandela becomes South African president. That did that happen? I thought he became president a little bit earlier, but still, I mean, it was obvious. It was the trajectory was obvious. Mrs. Thatcher re-elected as Tory leader in 1995. Tell that to John Major, would you? Full European Economic and Monetary Union. Oh my God, they had no idea, did they? They had no idea how divisive European unification with Britain would be. Led to Brexit, of course, and all of this. Lead is still going. 1997, spacecraft crashes on America, just on the map, like just crashes found. And 1998, aliens televised. Amazing. Amazing. Well, that could be so. That could be so. That could be at the start of a George W. Bush's campaign. 1999, man develops power to predict the future. Oh my God, this is amazing. We're all gonna be fine now. And 2000, mission to Mars is lands on Mars, is successful, and we go, oh look, all of this red rock. Let's all go skipping into the sunlight, rainbow, unicorn beams together. I love you, Mum. I love you, Dad. I love you, Mary Sue. Anyway, so Nostradamus, The End of Millennium by VJ Hewitt and Peter Lorre is published by Bloomsbury for £14.99. I tell you what, that's a lot of money to pay for a book now. Imagine paying that for this piece of crap back in 1991. Holy hell in a handbag. Well, I tell you, one person who possibly did was Charles, who was very happy to discover that he the steadfast man, as they call him, would lead the environmental battle to save the world. Well, out of all the predictions, maybe that will be true, because it kind of is happening. He was the first person to put forward the Sustainable Development Goals, or whatever it was called, at the World Economic Forum. I mean, it's always funny. You see, the thing is, nearly every single one of these so-called prophecies has not come to pass, apart from this one, which seems to be true, and it's about King Charles III, which is very interesting. I find very interesting.